Cadet Lily Hart had learned early that the military academy wasn't just about discipline and honor. It was about hierarchy, politics, and the quiet cruelty that thrived in places where ambition outweighed decency. She had arrived at Fort Aldrich with perfect scores, a sharp mind, and the stubborn belief that hard work would be enough. But in a place built on pride, being the best wasn't always an advantage, especially when you were the only woman in your class who had outperformed the sons of generals. It started with whispers, a few jokes in the mess hall, a snicker behind her back during drills. By the end of the month, her success had become a target. The cadets from Alpha Company, the golden boys of the academy, made sure she felt like an outsider. They were led by Cadet Commander Brooks, whose father was a decorated general and whose arrogance filled every room he entered. He didn't like that Lily had beaten his team during tactical simulation week. He didn't like that the instructors praised her, but what truly infuriated him was that she didn't seem afraid of him. The night it happened, the wind had turned cold over the parade ground, lights were dim, and most of the cadets were in the barracks studying for next day's inspection. Lily stayed late in the strategy hall, reviewing maps and notes. When she stepped into the stairwell, she sensed movement behind her, a laugh, a whisper, the shuffle of boots. She turned just as someone shoved her hard in the back. The world tilted, her notebook flew from her hand, and she tumbled down the concrete steps. Her head struck the railing, and everything went black. When she woke up, she was in the infirmary. Her right arm was fractured, her ribs bruised, and her lip split. The attending medic said she'd been found unconscious by a janitor during night rounds. No witnesses, no security camera in that stairwell. The report said accidental fall. She told the doctor what happened. She told the commanding officer too. They listened, nodded, and said the academy would look into it. But she saw it in their eyes, the same tired pattern she'd seen in stories whispered among female cadets before her. They'd brush it under the rug to protect the institution. By the next morning, word spread fast. Brooks and his friends laughed at breakfast. One of them mimed falling downstairs while another shouted, "Watch your step, Hart." She said nothing. But when she caught Brooks' eye, she didn't look away. That brief moment of defiance would change everything. At 08:00 hours, she was ordered to appear before Colonel Hensley, the deputy commandant. She expected a disciplinary talk about rumors. Instead, she found 3 men waiting: Colonel Hensley, General Marcus Dale, and General Royce Keller, both visiting for inspection week. The generals had already seen the medical report and heard her statement. They asked her to repeat what happened. She described it calmly, every detail, every sound, every voice she remembered before the fall. General Keller leaned back. "You're accusing the sons of 2 senior officers, Cadet Hart. You understand the weight of that?" She met his gaze. "Yes, sir, I'm not accusing. I'm telling you what happened." For a long moment no one spoke. Then General Dale said quietly, "Leave this with us." By evening everything changed. The sirens sounded at 1900 hours, 3 long wails echoing across the base. The cadets were ordered to their dorms, the gates locked. Military police swept the grounds. Rumors exploded. Some said a terrorist threat, others said a security breach. But the truth was stranger. The generals had ordered a full lockdown of Fort Aldrich. No one in or out, not until they found out what really happened to Cadet Lily Hart. Security footage from nearby corridors was pulled. The stairwell had no camera, but the hallway before it did. The footage showed Brooks and 2 others following Lily minutes before the fall. They were laughing. Then the camera caught them returning alone, walking fast, faces pale. One of them looked over his shoulder nervously. That was all the proof the generals needed. The base turned into a scene of silent chaos. The military police moved in, questioning cadets one by one. Brooks tried to bluff, insisting it was all coincidence, but when one of his friends broke under pressure, everything spilled out. It wasn't supposed to go that far. They just meant to scare her, to put her in her place. They hadn't meant to hurt her that badly. When General Dale heard the confession, his face hardened. He ordered the 3 cadets taken into custody. Brooks tried to call his father, but the line was cut. "This base is under military command, not family privilege," Dale told him coldly. "Your father can deal with this after I'm done." News traveled fast through the ranks. Cadets whispered through closed doors. Some were shocked, others quietly relieved. For years, the Academy's elite had operated like untouchable princes, protected by lineage and connections. But this time, someone at the top had decided enough was enough. That night, the lockdown intensified. Trucks rolled through the gates. Investigators arrived from headquarters. Every report, every past complaint suddenly resurfaced. Other cadets came forward, some trembling, some angry, sharing their own stories of hazing and harassment. It was as if Lily's fall had opened a floodgate. In the infirmary, Lily watched the lights flicker through the window. Her ribs ached with every breath, but she refused painkillers. She wanted to stay awake, to hear what was happening. When Colonel Hensley visited her, his tone was softer than before. "You should rest," he said quietly. "You started something big here." She didn't answer. By dawn, the generals had made their decision. The 3 cadets were to be caught, marshaled, and immediately expelled pending military trial. The Academy commandant, who had ignored prior complaints, was relieved of duty. The stairwell where it happened was sealed for investigation. And every cadet, officer, and staff member was required to attend a briefing the next morning. At the assembly, General Keller addressed the formation. His voice was cold and sharp as a blade. "Fort Aldrich is not a playground for privilege," he began. "When you wear this uniform, you represent discipline, honor, and respect, not arrogance or cruelty. One of your own was attacked because she dared to be better. That ends now. No one moved. No one dared breathe." Lily stood at the back, her arm in a sling, her bruises visible under her uniform. When Keller finished speaking, every eye turned toward her. For a moment she wanted to disappear, but then she lifted her chin. The silence that followed wasn't pity, it was respect. Later that week, the generals left, but their orders remained. Every leadership post in the Academy was reviewed. New policies were put in place for reporting abuse. For the first time, cadets were allowed to speak anonymously without fear of reprisal. And as the base reopened, an unspoken shift settled in. The laughter of Brooks and his friends was gone. In its place was something heavier: accountability. Lily returned to training 2 weeks later. Her ribs still hurt, but she refused to fall behind. During a morning drill, she saw the empty bunks where the Alpha Company boys used to sleep. She didn't feel triumph, just quiet resolve. She hadn't wanted revenge, only fairness, and somehow she'd gotten both. Months passed. She graduated top of her class. When her name was called, she walked across the stage with her arms steady and her eyes unflinching. General Dale himself pinned her insignia. "You earned this," he said simply. Years later, when she became an officer, people would still whisper about that night at Fort Aldrich. The night the base was locked down because one cadet refused to stay silent. They'd say it was the night the Academy finally remembered what honor really meant, but for Lily Hart it was simpler. It was the night she stopped being afraid.